Hello Standard 8. Today going to teach chapter 10 Nutrition of Biology, and it is part 2. Means part 1 we have already discussed. What we have discussed? We have discussed in detail about the food. We have discussed about the nutrition, about the nutrient, about the balanced diet, about the hunger, about the appetite, and about the meal and why we need food. This part is clear in the previous video. Today we are going to discuss in detail about the food, and I have told that there are 6 classes of food. 6 classes of food. Do you know what are those 6 classes? Number 1 is carbohydrate. Number 2 is fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals. Okay. And 6 is water. So there are 6 classes of food, and we are going to discuss each of the food in detail. So first one is what? 6 classes of food means the nutrients which we take has got only necessary 6 things, and other are the waste product. Very clear or not? So these are absorbed by the body and rest are thrown out. That part is clear. So let us start our discussion with the carbohydrate. If anyone asks you what are carbohydrate? Carbohydrate are the compounds which contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. They are compound of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. And one more thing, ratio between ratio of hydrogen and oxygen must be 2:1. So ratio between hydrogen and oxygen must be 2:1. Very clear? So carbohydrate, very important component of food, contains carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, where ratio of hydrogen and oxygen is 2:1. They are energy giving food. Food can be classified according to their function also. They are energy giving food. So what are carbohydrate? They are energy giving food made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, and hydrogen and oxygen are in the ratio 2:1. So everything is clear about the carbohydrate. Now carbohydrate include 3 things, means 3 things we have to discuss in carbohydrate. What are those 3 things which we have to discuss in carbohydrate? We have to discuss about the sugar, starch and cellulose. 3 forms of carbohydrate here we have to discuss. Carbohydrate, 3 forms we have to discuss here. What are those 3 forms? Number 1, sugar. Number 2, starch. And number 3, cellulose. Very clear or not? So we are going to discuss sugar, starch and cellulose in detail. They are the forms of carbohydrate. So first one is what? First one is sugar. Now let us discuss in detail about the sugar. Okay. You can define sugar. It is soluble in water, soluble in water, sweet in taste. Very clear, it is soluble in water, sweet in taste. Now this sugar is of two type. This sugar is of two type. Number one is monosaccharide, or you can say single sugar or simple sugar, single or simple sugar. Very clear or not? And second one is disaccharide, or you can say double sugar. Now listen, we have discussed carbohydrate, the most important component of food which provide us energy, and it is of three types: sugar, cellulose and starch. And sugar is of two types: monosaccharide and disaccharide. Let us discuss in detail about the monosaccharide. Mono means what? One. Okay. Simple sugar, very simple sugar. This monosaccharide is simplest sugar, simplest of all sugar. Which one? This monosaccharide. And chemical formula is C6H12O6. Very clear or not? This is the formula of glucose. So the simplest sugar is the monosaccharide, which is also called single sugar or simple sugar. And chemical formula is C6H12O6. Here you can see the ratio between hydrogen and oxygen. Is it not 2:1? Yes, it is 2:1. And it is directly absorbed by the body. No need to digest it. So for instant energy, glucose is given. Give reason question. Why? For instant energy, glucose or carbohydrate or simple sugar or monosaccharide is given, because it is absorbed directly by the body. It does not require to digest. Very clear? And it gives energy. So monosaccharide we have understood. Now this monosaccharide is of three types. Monosaccharide is of three types. What are these three types? Glucose, fructose and maltose. Try to understand. This monosaccharide or single sugar or simple sugar is of three types: glucose, fructose and maltose. Now glucose, it is also known as grape sugar. Grape sugar, angur, grape sugar. Fructose, fruit sugar. Very clear or not? And maltose, it is also a simple form of, sorry, not maltose, glucose, fructose and other is galactose. Galactose. And galactose is also called as milk sugar. Now see here, we were discussing about carbohydrate. Okay. And carbohydrate, three types of carbohydrate: sugar, starch and cellulose. Sugar is of two types: monosaccharide and disaccharide. Coming to the monosaccharide or single sugar or simple sugar, its chemical formula is this. It is of three types: glucose, fructose and galactose. Glucose is also called as grape sugar, fructose, fruit sugar and galactose is called as milk sugar. The sugar which is present in the milk. So very clear. Now sometime person suffer from diabetes. Which sugar is found in the urine or blood of the diabetic patient? The sugar which we eat? No. This is the sugar, simple sugar or glucose. Glucose is present in the blood or the urine of such type of person who suffers from diabetes. So sugar part is clear. Now coming to disaccharide. Di means what? Two. Disaccharide. Okay. Disaccharide or double sugar. It is also called as double sugar. Very clear, disaccharide or it is called as double sugar. Now, what is the chemical formula? Chemical formula of disaccharide is C12, H22 and O11. Again you can say 2:1. Chemical formula of disaccharide or double sugar is C12, H22 and 1O11. Very clear. Now this disaccharide is of three types. Sucrose, next is maltose and lactose. This disaccharide or double sugar is of three types: sucrose, maltose and lactose. Coming to the sucrose, it is the commercial sugar, the sugar which we put in our diet, which we get in the market, that is the commercial sugar and chemical name is sucrose. Very clear or not? And it is obtained from sugar cane. The sugar cane juice is extracted and in sugar cane mill that is changed to sugar. In other countries other than sugar cane, do you know by what sugar is made? Yes, it can be made by the sugar beet. In other countries it is also made by the sugar beet. Beet, chukandar, you must have eaten in as salads. From that also commercial sugar is made. Very clear or not? Okay. And since it is a double sugar, means what two sugars are there? The two sugars are glucose plus fructose. Glucose plus fructose. These two sugars are added together, present together, glucose and fructose. So it becomes double sugar and it is called as disaccharide or sucrose or commercial sugar. Next, coming to the other type of disaccharide, and that is the maltose. That is also a double sugar, maltose. Okay, or you can say malt sugar. Malt sugar. How we get it? We get it from this barley and other. And which two sugars are here? Two glucose molecule, means glucose plus glucose. It become maltose or malt sugar. Very clear. Third type of sugar is the lactose. Lactose, and this lactose is present in milk, so it is called as milk sugar. Which two sugar are here? Here glucose plus galactose. Galactose. When these two sugar are added, lactose becomes, and lactose is present in milk. So the milk when we drink a little bit, it tastes sweet. So that part is clear. Carbohydrate, one type of carbohydrate, that is sugar, we have understood. Second type of carbohydrate, that is starch. Second type of carbohydrate. And that second type of carbohydrate is the starch. You must have read about the starch, that plants prepare their food, and the food prepared by the plant is the glucose. That glucose is used up by the plant body, and rest is stored in the organ as starch. Because if it will not be sunny day, then plant will die of starvation, plant bhukha mar jayega. So they store glucose in the form of starch. Very clear or not? And plants store it, and this starch is present in rice, okay, maize. This starch is present in rice and maize and barley. Now chemical formula of starch is C6H10 and O5 bracket N. N is variable. If N you are taking 2, then 2 into 6 it will, if N is equal to 2, then it will become C12, H20, O10. When? If N is equal to 2. N is variable. If N is equal to 3, you can calculate. It is, this starch is also called as polysaccharide. So we have discussed about monosaccharide and disaccharide, and this starch is the polysaccharide, means many sugar. Now this starch is of two types, cellulose and glycogen. This starch is of two types. One is cellulose, and you must have read that plant cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cell wall of the plant, which is present only in the plant, and that is made up of cellulose. When we eat plant part, this cellulose is not digested, and it works as a roughage. It cleans our gut. Cleans our gut. Gut means what? Alimentary canal, the digestive tract. It clears our digestive tract because roughage is present in the cellulose. It is necessary for the proper functioning of our digestive system. खूब खाए जा रहे हैं और क्लियर नहीं हो रहा है, तो कायम चूर्ण और पेट सफा खाने की जरूरत नहीं है. You can take roughage, plant cell wall, in the form of dalia, isabgol or salads, green leafy vegetable, carrot. This will clear your digestive tract. Next is glycogen. The second type of starch is glycogen. And animals store food. Animals store food in the form of glycogen. Starch, plants store their food, and glycogen, animals store their food in the form of glycogen. Plants store starch in their storage organ. Potato which you eat, that is a starch. Now, animals store this carbohydrate, this starch in the form of carbohydrate in the form of glycogen. And this glycogen, where it is stored? Stored in the muscle or in the liver. Stored in muscle or liver. Stored in liver or muscle. Very clear? So dear children, what we studied today? we studied classes of nutrients, that there are 6 classes of nutrient. The first one is the carbohydrate, which is the energy giving food. In carbohydrate we discussed about it releases energy. We discussed that it is of 3 type: sugar, starch, okay, and sugar, that is of 3 type: monosaccharide, disaccharide and polysaccharide. Polysaccharide is also called as starch. Okay, and detail we have discussed. Read it several times, then only you will be able to understand. Today up to this much. In the next video we will discuss the rest part. Thank you very much.